Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by PlayPicks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are rolling along with our player props videos each and every day of these playoff games here. We've got a couple of games, 3 games in the Eastern Conference to look at tonight. 1 game 3 there, Philly, Toronto, and then a couple of game 2 matchups as well. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page to continue to check out each and every one of these game videos we'll bring you during the playoffs, as well as these player props videos as well. And head over to thelines.com. Make sure you check out that props tool for you that we've got up there for you guys. Make sure you're getting the best juice available as you're shopping those lines on NBA player props. And want to head to play.thelines.com. Head over there to see if you can win a $25 Amazon gift card. Just take on that NBA Daily Pick'em Challenge we have there. Get everything right, and we will send you that gift card. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to FDPicks.com or DKPicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for play props. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, how can you not take Kyrie Irving right now, letting the hate of the TD Garden fans fuel him for a second consecutive 39-point outing in the playoffs at Boston. Now, in his last 3 at TD Garden, including 1 regular season game, he's hitting 4.7 triples at 50% in his last 4 against Boston since leaving them. 30.5 points per game, 53, 50, 93 splits. Marcus Smart has not been able to do anything with him. He has a 126 defensive rating in his last 3 against Kyrie. And Boston clearly game planned against Durant and was able to kind of contain him, surprisingly, in game 1. But that left Kyrie on an island. They didn't double him until that last possession, got the ball out of his hands. But they're not going to be able to double him all game, even though they probably should. But he's got counters for everything. And his prop at 28.5 points, I can't imagine he falls below that unless this is a blowout either way. But we expect this to be a dogfight all series. He's plus 230 to be the leading scorer in this series if you expect this trend to continue. Plus 290 to just lead this game in scoring again, backing that up from last game where he had 39. I believe Tatum was the next high man with 31. And there's some juicy options on the triples because – look, Brooklyn needs to space the floor here. They can't keep their 3-point shooters out there. Seth Curry barely played. They don't have Joe Harris. So, like I mentioned, Kyrie hitting 50% from deep. For him to hit 4 triples is plus 115. But for him to do that in a win is plus 350 at FanDuel. And for him to get 32 points, plus 440 at FanDuel. I mean, it's just – I'm not bullish on the Nets necessarily winning this game, but – they're not going to win it without Kyrie and KD basically both being around 30 points. And Kyrie, the matchup is a little bit better for him with those huge wings for Celtics. It's a little tougher for Durant to get going, and Kyrie has had no problem scoring on his former team.
Agreed. I'm already planning on hitting the Kyrie to lead the series plus 230, and for him to lead it in scoring. He's already at 39. He's got an 8-point lead on Jayson Tatum. I guess the thinking is KD's going to eat into Kyrie's stats more than Brown is going to eat into Tatum's stats, but Brown had more field goal attempts in game 1 than Tatum did. And Kyrie had 4 less than KD. I think there's still reason to think he's going to continue to be more efficient and be that scorer for them. They didn't even bring a double when KD wasn't on the court to Kyrie for a bit, and it made no sense. So there's got to be some better game planning. But yeah, when they game planned for him and they did double him, he took a step back 28-foot 3-pointer and hit it. So I'm not sure how you game plan for that. But moving on to obviously another Eastern Conference game, but I am going to take Jayson Tatum in this one. We were talking either 30.5 points for his points prop or 34.5 points and assists combined over on either of those. I do say you take the points and assists. 34.5 there gets you minus 113 on DraftKings. I just prefer the ability to give him that. He had 8 assists in game 1 with those 31 points. He's just become a lot better of a playmaker, upping his assists per game since the All-Star break from, beforehand about 3.2, now about 5.5 since that time, which is awesome. In his last last 6 versus Brooklyn. About 32 points a game already gets you there. And then, the 4 assists against Brooklyn. But like I said, 8 in this last game. I think you just really like him, as well at home, where he's averaging a few more points as well. Since the All-Star break, he's at about 32 points a game at home. Since January, at the end of January alone as well, just 29.5 points a game there, but also 5.5 assists, where he does dime up a bit more at home. So there's really great reasons to like, Tatum's numbers as a playmaker, how much better and how much more he and Brown both get used with Time Lord, Robert Williams, who's still not playing when he's off the floor. So a lot of reasons to like really either of these guys. Jalen's props are just a little bit high. And I think the 34.5 points and assists for Tatum, when you really expect him to get 30 and 5, that's like the bar basically for what I would say his averages are, and why I think that's the floor for his stats tonight.
Yeah, which is why actually those numbers have gone up since they've opened, and they're 36.5 points assists, but the odds are better. 31.5 points is minus 102 at FanDuel. So yeah, they're up high for Tatum, but he is the main man for Boston in his last 6 playoff games at the Garden, getting 34 points per game, nearly 6 assists per game, playing almost the whole game at 42.5 minutes because Jalen was out last playoffs, but he's had a lot of success against Brooklyn, like you said. And yeah, he talked about how great it was to play in front of a full crowd there in game 1, give them something there. I think we expect the Nets to be out, even better offensively in this game. So both the Jays are going to have to be good. I do like Jaylen Brown's 3 points prop. I think that's not too high. And he struggled. He went 1 for 5, I think, from deep, but he's shooting 48% from 3 in his last 9 regular season without the Time Lord, stepping up a little bit more as a perimeter player. And the Nets they're just not able to guard him. He can bully any of these smaller guards and get his open shot when the Celtics move the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
I talked about in the game video for the Raptors, I like OG Anunoby, who hasn't been a volume scorer during the regular season, but now the Raptors are pretty shorthanded. Trent Jr. Is dealing with an illness. Fred VanVleet is hobbled. Scotty Barnes is out indefinitely, basically with an ankle sprain. So in the first 2 games, OG has a 22.5% usage rate, getting 23 points per game on better than 50%, way better than 50% field goal shooting. And he's done well against Philly, 19 points per game on 52% now in his last 4. The Sixers were not world beaters on defense with a 117 defensive rating those first 2 home games. And Danny Green, who's going to be playing even more now with Matisse Thybulle ruled out, had a 120 individual defensive rating. So OG, again, FanDuel has higher props but better odds than DraftKings. 17.5 points, 27.5 PRA. And I think he's going to have an elevated usage rate in 8 home games since coming back. He's only scoring 14.5 at a 17% usage rate, but you jump that up, and I think he'll get over 18 points here with the Raptors, who have just been much better on offense at home since he came back. He helps facilitate everything, keep it flowing with his ability to beat guys off the dribble, but now he has to finish more because they're short on options.
Yeah, I mean, 17.5 points just feels a little bit low, everything considered what he's already been doing in this series and the fact that they're so shorthanded. You've got to expect a bit more offense from him moving forward, and he's also got to expect a ton more minutes for him, as there's nobody else really right now for them. And obviously he's going to be their best defender on the wing as well, per usual. So there's just going to be plenty of minutes to go around for him in this one. And 17.5 points at minus 105 on FanDuel. I feel good about those odds and that number there. So let's finish off with one of our favorite point guards, Jrue Holiday here. Didn't bring it necessarily in the stats column in game 1, 15 points, 6 boards, 6 assists. But he did have a plus 11. We know what he does on defense as he shut down DeMar, and we know he'll continue to play around the 38 to 40 minutes that he got in game 1 as well throughout the series, and continue to have a decent usage rate as well between he and the big 3, the other 2 guys there. And if Chris Middleton continues to shoot as poorly as he did in game 1, you got to expect even more of a usage for Jrue on terms of scoring. So I still think with Jrue you always consider the ancillary stats. So 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists is minus 115 on FanDuel. I think that's about right. I mean, that's about what he has averaged against Chicago this season as well. If you add it all together, is about 30, 31 and points, rebounds, and assists combined in the 4 that they played in the regular season. But, it is the playoffs, and he's going to continue to get minutes. You don't really trust Grayson Allen in too many important scenarios as well. Pat Connaughton you can get on the floor, but he's not taking Jrue's minutes is the point. So at any rate, Jrue's going to be out there. And I think, you like the points, rebounds, and assists more than even the 18.5 points, because I could see a scenario where he gets, 7, 8 boards very easily, which is why you might consider 4.5 rebounds. It's just not the return on your money there at minus 130 that you would like normally. But the rebounds is one of the main reasons I like him to get the points, rebounds, and assists. So if you wanted to play it as safe as you could, you would just take the boards. I just want to get a little bit better juice there with the points, rebounds, and assists. And I do think he will get at least about 15 there, 15 to 18 points. And then I feel really good about those other stats as well.
Yeah, he's a great peripheral stats guy. I mean, you look at counting the finals now, his last 5 playoff games, 6.2 rebounds and 9.2 assists. And the Bucks, I mean, he might defer in the scoring column, but he'll be setting up Giannis and Middleton, who can have their way with this Bulls defense. And then the Bulls, so bad against his position specifically, gave up the 5th most points per game to point guards. But then in the last 30, when they didn't really have anybody healthy in the backcourt, they allowed 26.5 points per game, along with 9 assists and 6 rebounds on the season. So there should be plenty of stats for Jrue as long as this game stays close. And we expect some positive regression from Milwaukee after they fell off a cliff offensively in the last 3 quarters there in game 1.
Understatement of a lifetime when you say fell off a cliff with a 75 offensive rating in those 3 quarters. But that is all the time we have for you in this player props video. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to get every single playoff video during these NBA postseason games that we will be bringing to you, including those weekend ones. So until we see you next, happy betting.